and welcome to the Be Real, Get Real podcast. I am your host, Nancy Matthews, and today I have the privilege of introducing you to Honey Hilliard, who I have known, oh my gosh, 7 or 8 years, I think, Honey.
I would say 7. I think it's at least 7. 2013, going on 8.
Yeah, long time, like before you had your youngest child.
Yes.
So, and anyway, it is such a delight and an honor to have you with us today as we have a conversation about letting
Thank
your
you.
light shine bright. And before we dive in, I'll give you a little bit of background about Honey, and then we'll begin the conversation. So, Honey Hilliard currently lives in Tallahassee, the beautiful capital of Florida, and she works out of a sunlit studio built into her home, which we're having the privilege of being inside of right now. She is a wife and a mother of two girls. One is in kindergarten and the other's in college, and perhaps we'll touch on that. She's a self represented artist, a children's book author, and product developer. She often turns her paintings into products such as calendars, ornaments, note cards, and prints. She shares her art, products, and patent pending inventions in galleries, art boutiques, other venues, and online at honeyhilliardart.com. And Honey, I really want to start off our conversation today about creating a business as a creative. And actually, because you always hear, oh, there'll be a starving artist, you can't make money with music or art, blah. And you have full force, you fly in the face of all those naysayers. So how did you start on this path and know this is where your life purpose would be fulfilled? How did you manage all that?
Well, the way I started, I always knew that I had a call to be a creative entrepreneur. And I didn't know much about business. I had gotten an art degree, and I did think that becoming a freelance artist would allow me to be in the studio, create all day. And it's been funny, that's not quite true. You do have to let people know somehow. So you have to learn about marketing. You don't get to paint all day. They don't just show up in your private studio to see your art and get to know you. So you join groups like Women's Prosperity Network and find the people who are the one that move you forward to the next step. That helps a lot, and you learn how to really just get out there and let your light shine. And when I say that, it's not about being loud or talking loudly or screaming your messages, but about getting out there. You can't just make the painting. In my experience and in my career, my art practice, you can't just make the painting. The calling doesn't stop there. For
Mhm.
me, that voice says share it, and the sell it part has been really exciting too, because that starving artist thing is such a crappy myth.
It
It's not helpful to most artists or business people at all, and there's no reason to delve into it. I think in my early 20s, I thought, well, I was really kind of taught this, I think, in some of the art school in college. A lot of the art classes kind of give you this message that if you make money with your creation, then you're a sellout.
Oh,
So
that's
I was
another level.
battling that. Yeah, it's battling if you sell your painting, if you do anything, but just it was almost really, really frowned upon to sell paintings, and I couldn't quite get it. Wait, I'm getting a college degree, and I want to make paintings. I want to make a living. I want to be independent, and I want freedom, like everyone. But so I had to figure that out after college and be able to find a way to, keep the soul calling going and make selling and business part of the calling. And the two fed each other. And as I learned how to sell and become an entrepreneur, the art got better, and vice versa. They kind of go together. They go hand in hand. So I want to always make that clear that no, there's no reason to be a starving artist.
I love
in
that.
fact, you'll in fact you'll starve to death. Your creativity will. So if you're not out there sharing your art, and so yeah, the two can go hand in hand very well, and I've learned that more and more each year. So
I love that you shared that the more you share your art, the more creativity opens up, the more your flow opens up. And I think this will be a nice transition to another part of our discussion today, because if you are creating something and then you share it, but then you don't feel good about it, or you feel like you might be a sellout, the channel of creativity is really about staying open and sharing and giving your gifts. Like, you're creating art, it's not just for you, it's for other people to have an experience of it, and keeping it all
It
to
absolutely is.
and not offering it and letting people buy it. Let's get real. If you don't tell
Mhm.
people, if you're not marketing whatever your product or service or art is, then you're denying people of the pleasure of experiencing what you've created.
Right, and that's a no-no, that's a sin, that's a crime against nature. You're not supposed to, hoard the gifts that were given to you and that flow through you.
Beautiful.
I believe they flow through us. I don't think my art really comes from me. I think I open up and allow it to come through when I'm at my best, and when my art is at its best. That's what's happening, where I'm just being a conduit, you
I feel
know?
the same way about the written word, when I'm writing books, or if I'm doing videos and doing training and teaching and supporting on marketing, sales, what it's through me, it's not of me, right? And that's
Right,
different.
right.
Yeah.
Right, and you teach that so much, and you've been such an example and teacher and mentor of all that for me, and it's been very, very much a catapulting force in my career since I met you, Nancy.
It's been
So
great.
I love that.
Yeah, it's
And I
beautiful.
love your word co-opetition.
Yeah.
I also find that the more I create, the more I do not fear competition. Or sometimes there is a fear of, oh, they're doing it better than me. They're creating more than me. But if I just pick up that paintbrush and start doing what it is I'm supposed to do, then those voices go away.
Compet-
And
Competition, really feeding into our competitive nature, is a thief of creativity.
Mhm. Yes, it is, it is. There's ways to compete, like, with yourself, though, and ways to have, like, friendly co-opetition, I guess, with others, but the competition, yeah, that's old news. That's not making us, prosperous or, prolific with our work.
Yeah. All right. So
And
let's
it sneaks in. It does sometimes sneak in, but we know that the real truth is that there's such a plethora and such an abundance
abundance. And
of
that's where we are living this human existence, and especially if we look on social media, we can compare ourselves to other people on there all day long, all night long. And then we got to just get quiet enough and connect with whatever source of the universe, divine, God, spirit, that calls to you, and trust that. And that's
Mhm.
where, like, if you think about this, actually, um, you start with a blank canvas. There's nothing on it. And most of us can wake up, whatever your business is, we begin with a blank canvas. And the creative process, I don't know exactly what yours is, but how do you know what it's going to be? Do you know what it's going to be before you start painting? That's a good question.
Oh, yes, I usually do, and, I daydream a lot, and, there actually, you said the blank canvas, so I have to show you that my canvases don't stay blank long. They get turned Grumbacher, red cadmium red, medium, or orange, because I can't stand a white blank canvas. It's a little scary. So, no, and old painters, old masters did this too with that orange underpainting, because it is like magic. First of all, gets rid of the white canvas. Second of all, I try to let hints of that show, and it provides a cohesiveness to my painting and my style, where a little bit of that orange warmth will peek through the final painting. So I have a very specific process, and I now try to work in collections, because I was getting bombarded with inspirations, always have, really, I guess, all my life. And I can't paint them and do them fast enough. And it can feel like you're failing if you don't get every inspiration down on in the book or on the canvas.
Golden
You
nugget.
must have this
I
too.
do. I do. You should find it everywhere. Yeah. So that was a golden nugget, is to find a way to challenge them, channel them so that they can come out of you, and then you do them in a certain, space, or bring them together like you said,
Uh-huh.
collection.
Well, to control the fireworks and bombardment of inspirations, there's some specific things I do. I make up rules for myself, and I love not having a boss, but it does mean that I have plenty of bosses, and I have the main boss, which is the creative spirit coming through me, that I need to honor in the best way that I can.
Mhm.
So I make rules for myself, and I'll say, okay, honey, if you're going to paint this iconic woman, then you need to paint 30 so that it's a series. And you need to do, or sometimes it can be 10. I used to try to do 30, but the oceans would call and the moons. So I have a collection of oceans, a collection of moons, a collection of iconic women, but at least 10 of any given collection need to happen if I'm going to go off in a new direction.
Mhm.
So that helps, and also sticking to a consistent size with certain collections, like these iconic women and florals. These are all pops of color that are all 12 by 12 canvases, 2.5 inch deep, and I use acrylic and oil only. And the rules can always be broken. I might want to use some oil pastel to top it off at the end, but yeah, to keep myself from going in too many directions all at once, then
Oh,
I do.
you're giving it form. You're bringing form and substance to the original inspiration that came in. That's what I'm hearing.
But I do have to put parameters and make some rules for myself to keep it from just going off into a billion directions. So, and deadlines and goals and delegating is the best thing that if any entrepreneur, or beginning entrepreneur, I always say, please just delegate everything that does not require your brilliance and your creative brilliance. If you can delegate it, do it. Even if you think you can't, go ahead and hire the assistant,
That's
at least part-time,
Mhm.
or the babysitter or the housekeeper. Just go ahead and do it, and just quicker than you might be comfortable with. But delegating's crucial
Awesome.
to running a yeah.
Let's talk about um, your inventions, the creative process, protecting them, because there's actually an attorney who's a part of our community. I don't think you've met her yet, Zenga Wasemi from New York, and her whole mission is working with creative entrepreneurs so that they can protect their assets, because whether it's a piece of music, an artwork, a graphic, a photo, whatever it is that you have, it is your proprietary creation, your intellectual property. Um, and not, sometimes people can take your ideas. And I know you had an incident around this. So share a little bit about that story as well as your approach to it.
Okay. I'll keep it short because if I go into details, this would take way too long. I did have it happen a few times. Many years into my art practice, I got an idea to make a fashion product, a scarf.
Mhm.
Here, I'll just show you real quick. A scarf that turns into sleeves. And there's a few ways to do this. Some of them, the original design is a tubular design that I had never seen before. And I was absolutely sure it was a new idea. And at first I felt silly, like, no, honey, you're an artist. You need to, work on more children's books and more paintings, not go develop a product. You don't know how to do that. But that voice kept coming, and it was a real spark. And that's the spark that we have to listen to sometimes, even if it doesn't really make sense, in my opinion, that voice, that spark. So it kind of just happened the second it happened, that it was my husband was sitting there, and I said, hold this piece of fabric like this. Here, let me go over here. And I cut it like this, and this is going to work. So it did. And I just started making a few to show. And people would say, oh, you got to go on Shark Tank. And I thought, oh, I guess this could be a big idea. So let's make more. And through sharing it a little bit here and there at meetings, such as at WPN, which was the exact perfect place to share it, because so much enthusiasm and support came rushing in,
Uh,
and knowledge. So
and
at the
I remember.
WPN,
Let me pause for a moment because I remember you were at our big event, the Unconference, and you stood up and talked about it. And Dwayne Cummings was there, and he like gave you some amazing guidance right in that mentorship, right in that moment, and it was
he did. It was great.
that was a fabulous moment.
There was so much creative flow in that room and in that moment. I didn't expect him to hand me the mic, and I was not ready, but I
Remember
think
that.
I pulled it off. Everybody, there was just so much support and enthusiasm, and that was like the right place to share a new idea. And then later, word of mouth kind of got around, and some different colleagues, colleagues of, you say friends of friends, but colleagues of colleagues got in touch and said, well, I have these connections in China and with HSN and with this and that, and I want to know about your idea. And I said, well, here's the NDC, non-disclosure, and once that was signed, I shared it, and kept not hearing from this individual, and I had he mysteriously disappeared. And later, when I was sourcing fabrics online, saw my idea right there, very clearly, and photographed. And it was a bit hurtful and disappointing, to say the least. And but finally, I decided this feeling of being ticked that he stole it, and I'm not even sure if I can still sell my own idea, is it's not a good feeling. I can't. I've got to do something. I've got to feel something else and believe something else. So I just dove back into art and creating and painting, but I didn't let the arm scarves idea go. And my husband was working on the patent. He's not a patent attorney, but he became one for about a week, and he thought it was imported enough that he couldn't stand to see someone else steal my idea and not allow me to develop it. So we are still waiting. We're in the patent pending status. So I'm not sure what exactly your question was, but
I want you to share a little bit about that, and then you gave a
about protecting.
yeah, well, you gave a clue to really where I want to take our conversation as we kind of wrap up here today, and that is you just said you noticed when this happened that you weren't feeling good and you didn't like the way it was making you feel, so you decided to put your emotions aside and step back into creativity.
I
And
had to.
I'm just wondering, making that intentional choice, and still you're pursuing whatever legal process may be there for you and you still want to go through those avenues, agreed 100%. When you shifted and intentionally chose to set aside the feelings of being hurt, betrayed, all that other crap that could come with it, I'm sure it did you notice anything new in your creation? Like as you went back into it, was there something new that came out of it and your work?
Well, I had a new confidence and a new, what's it called when you are committed, a commitment to not let that happen. Not to, the commitment was to my emotional state, to create and have faith when creating, and to stay open to that. So that was the newness, and it did feel good that my patent has been, the application is a lengthy process. There's a couple of different kinds. There's an easy patent you can apply for, but that only buys you about a year. And then there's a pretty lengthy process for the one that gets you, I don't know, maybe 10 years. I'm sure Zinga would know about that, and I'm going to have to talk to her.
Yeah, you're gonna
But
want
we did manage.
sure.
Yeah. But we did successfully get the application submitted and in the proper format. So that feels good too. And it allowed me to put it out of my mind. I can't, because, and this did happen a couple of other times on different levels. Other people taking the idea and producing it. But the one I mentioned was the most large scale. So we'll see. I really don't think about that. I know that it's my idea, and I love to nurture it in the way, a painting to me is like a child, an idea or a book. It's kind of like a child. You want to nurture and do what's right for it. Like we said, an idea has its own energy, and you don't really own it, but you do have to take care of it. So I guess those are the things that came with it, was my commitment to know that we all have, I believe, a God-given right to original creative ideas. Maybe right's not the gifts. We have we're born with a birthright of original thought, original ideas, and we all have $1 million ideas coming through us. And so to keep that focus and keep that faith, with and surround yourself with people like Nancy and the sisters and the WPN members, and that energy is part of
Right. So
part of what I brought back.
yeah, so you don't get hooked into the energy of competition, fear, doubt, worry, feeling anger. Like that's not the creative energy. Or actually, and that energy will create things, but do we really want what that kind of energy is going to create? Where you stay in
We
the
don't.
abundance. Yeah. As thank you so much for sharing your story and of yourself today, and a glimpse of your artwork we get to see. And again,
Oh, thank you.
you're welcome. And for all our audience, you can go to Honey Hilliard, which is HILLIARD, Hilliard, honeyhilliardart.com, and get some of the great, beautiful, amazing creations from Honey.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. They can subscribe, and my holiday gift shop opens this Friday. So
Oh, perfect. Well,
to...
make sure that we check back there for sure. And continue creating and serving. And I know that you have a big project you're coming up with in the coming year to support creatives. Can you just drop a little hint about that before we wrap today?
Sure. I've had a calling, that little voice, for many years to start a group, a collective to support other creative entrepreneurs and do fun things like have guest speakers and just have a place where you can go, a private group where you can go and get resources and energy and support, and some live sessions with feedback on what your projects are, some masterminding. And it's going to officially start in January. We'll have some little sneak peeks before then, but the Honey Hive is what it'll be called, and
Of
it's going to
course.
start in January. Yes, a safe place for creative entrepreneurs to come and be together and support each other.
Yay. All right. So of course it's called the Honey Hive, and I'm excited
Yes.
about the space you're creating. Thank you for being with us. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you. It's my honor.
Beautiful, beautiful. And thank you to all of our audience listening in today. And I trust that this episode of the Be Real, Get Real podcast brought you some value and brought you some inspiration. Tap into that creativity, that flood of ideas that's available to you when you stay open, loving, and filled with faith. Have an amazing day, everybody. Bye, honey.
Bye-bye.